I'm gonna stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Mr. Warner. Ms. Rupp.
Here.
Mr. Meyerholtz.
Here.
Ms. Susser.
Here.
Mrs. Patel.
Here.
Ms. Kokowski.
Here.
Everybody okay with the agenda?
Have one item to add, and it is concerning the sheriff's department, and it concerns the coverage for Laura.
All right, you with that under new business then?
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and do the deputy real quick, seeing as how he's here. You have anything for council?
I don't have anything. If you guys have anything for me, I can pass it along.
Anybody?
No.
Perfect. No news is good news, I guess.
Yep,
All right.
sure is.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Do we want to do
I was gonna do Ben
yeah,
Black.
Do we want to approve the minutes?
Let's go for that then. Yeah,
And the first?
let's go.
we're good.
I was trying to right into the agenda of the thing. Okay, everybody get a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting? Any additions or corrections? We just need a motion to
So
approve.
moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Right. Okay. Mr. Black, you're from Kleinfelter, right?
Yeah, I'm Kleinfelder. So the reason I'm here tonight is to, I think there was confusion about what exactly was submitted or not submitted. So there, TMCOG has an application out right now for a couple different areas. One is TAP, that's transportation alternatives. So that's like sidewalk trails. The other one is CMAC, which is, there's a lot of big overlap a lot. So CMAC is congestion mitigation and air quality, so also trails, but that stuff can also go into things like reducing traffic congestion, things like that. So they have like $20 million total to put forward to these areas. They're due at the end of the month, the applications are, and then the provisions that would be provided are 80% of construction cost. And then the local would have to come up with 20% of the construction plus all of the design work to get to there. Yep, all the engineering to get to there, and then ODOT would grant 80% of construction cost. So with those being due at the end of the month, if there was anything like a trail or a sidewalk or anything like that that you didn't want to put in for, we would just need to get rolling on that probably this week or very soon.
Okay.
Start doing that. There's nothing that has to be passed by council. But we would just need, some sort of verbal proof.
Just a ongoing thing. So in other words, if we say for whatever reason, the committees and stuff didn't choose to do anything, can we do it next year, or is this like a one-time thing?
Yeah, so Bob can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure they're running on 2 years. They run on a 2-year cycle. So 1 year they do some of their programs, and the other year they do their others. So last year they did STVG, surface transportation. That'll do a lot of different things. And this year is their TAP and CMAC, which is more towards pedestrian purpose. So you could wait for 2 years until this comes, CMAC and TAP comes around in 2 years and apply for it then. What is important to note is that these are typically 4 years from now. So we're looking at construction in 2029 usually. If you get it pushed forward, you might be able to start in the middle of 2028. Usually the state fiscal year determines that. But typically these are running, most of them that we're doing right now are starting spring of 2029 for construction.
Okay. And does anybody have anything for Mr. Black as far as questions on?
So to give everybody an idea too, me and Ben are working together on this. We're not enemies by any means. I brought him in just because he does have the bandwidth to take on the grants. DGL does not really handle that many grants. So, and I'm also here just to kind of give him ideas and you guys ideas on what kind of project to go after. So it's in no way, we're working together.
I mean, I know we did with you and more Kleinfelter, the ODOT one for the sidewalks with the ADA and which I don't think we got awarded for that.
Right.
Would we be able to go for that again with the same scope?
I think that was the one that you had said was
Yeah, so
the,
so there's a couple different options that we have to check with ODOT and make sure it's good. So that there are portions of that can definitely be applied for in CMAQ. I'm thinking in my mind specifically the sidewalk out to the park would probably fare pretty well on this application here. But then there are also some safety applications that are.
I know we had talked about a safety corridor, what they call the safety corridor goes from
Right.
Broadway to the Dollar General. That was a pretty substantial engineering portion of that and the initial project that got brought up was really trying to be ADA compliant on starting the sidewalk projects and just those and stuff. So I don't think that's out of our scope if we still want to do. We just don't know. When it got kind of shut down, it was kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
But then we had this conversation, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was due by this month and we had already, most of our meetings were already happened.
Right.
To facilitate it on their agenda. So.
Right. And if you don't want to put a team of our application, if provisions don't make sense for you, then we don't have to put one in. Like I said, there's other things that ODOT has. So this is kind of confusing because TMACOG, being inside of TMACOG prevents you from certain things like the state has their own tax stuff that they do that you're actually excluded from. You have to go through TMACOG for that. But then there's things like safety that anybody in the state can apply for. So we can also look at, there might be some safety funds that are available for some of these things that you want to do.
If we were to move forward on a particular project, say the safety corridor, and we get awarded, when would the awardance take place in and in this fiscal year or the?
26, probably 27.
Because
For abbreviated.
Oh, yeah, for abbreviated.
the reason why I say that is because the engineering and stuff, we would have to allocate all that stuff currently, and we're pretty much used our allocations this year. for
yeah, that's
stuff.
the OPWC's taking all that.
Right.
So I mean, as far as our allocations, we just need to know when it's on.
Right. Yeah. And the nice thing with at least abbreviated safety, that's a quarterly application. So, I mean, if you miss one, you just wait 3 months till the next one. Some of the other bigger ones, there are other safety ones that have bigger caps. The abbreviated safety is only $500,000. The other one, the bigger caps are not quite as often, but they're still every year.
Are they paying 100% for safety still?
But the 90-10 split on engineering and construction for all the safety programming.
All right, and that's still done by August 1st. Right?
No, so the safety, there's a couple different safeties. The abbreviated safety has a quarterly application. The last one was June 30th. So there'll be another one September 30th and then December 31st. And
You said that's a 90-10?
yeah, 90-10.
Okay.
And then there's some more safety, there's some bigger safety ones coming up in March.
Okay.
You can go for if you want some bigger projects.
Does anybody have anything for Mr. Black?
You said September 31st.
September 30th would be the next abbreviated safety.
So the safety would include getting a sidewalk where there is no sidewalks, getting to walk it down the road.
Missing sidewalks. You got chunks that are missing or
Oh, yeah,
sections.
we have lots of chunks missing.
Sections that are missing.
We would not be able to use it for the trail to Dollar General though.
No, I get that.
You potentially you could for the fact that there really is no access to Dollar
Yeah,
General.
and we could take to ODOT and have a meeting with Chris Waterfield over there who runs the safety program, and he would be able to tell us whether that's
I
something.
mean, like Bob worked on trying to get the ODOT one. We were trying to also correspond with Main Street. And then there was talk about connecting roads to the other side of the sidewalk. That's the side of stuff that they would probably look for, right?
Yeah, potentially. The key is talking to ODOT, Chris
Yeah.
Waterfield. He's gonna be the one that says, yeah, that's a good project,
Right.
send it to state, or no, don't waste your time. It's better to talk to him first before you go down a rabbit hole with doing all this work. And then just to have them say, they have to go through him to get the state anyways.
Right, we find a lot of discrepancies between district to district. We'll go to, you guys are District 2, we'll go to District 1 and they'll tell something different from District 2. So we always just say, just start with the district coordinator and see what they say for you.
Why would you say that the Dollar General one would not possibly coincide with the?
After I thought about it, there is really no pedestrian access to Dollar General.
Oh, okay.
So it could.
Oh, okay.
For whatever, I thought there was more pedestrian access there for some reason, but
Yeah, and ODOT's kind of weird about using safety funds for new sidewalks. They're all for, they're all for re-upping your rehabbing your sidewalks or, getting those missing sections. And I've been in meetings where Chris Waterfield has said, yes, let's get a sidewalk to that park. And then you go to another meeting, he says, this one doesn't make sense. So it's all, he takes it case by case and looks at it that way.
Okay.
and it kind of depends on how much money they have left. Right now, they have a lot of money in abbreviated safety, so it may be worthwhile trying to go after that. But in general, the trail applications would be for your sidewalks, your pedestrian access, not the safety. Safety is more geared towards roadway safety,
Right.
not pedestrian safety. But it's worth a shot to go talk to them about it.
Yeah.
And Ben can handle all that and go talk to Chris and figure out what the best path forward is for you guys.
Okay.
Are you familiar with that stretch at all between here and Dollar General?
A little bit. I've been through it a couple times, but yeah.
And I can help them
As
answer questions and things like that.
far as I'm concerned, I mean, if you're going to have a meeting with him, I think that would be one to talk to him.
That's
The most
that was one of the ones that was talked about and pretty much agreed upon on
Okay.
just about every
Yeah.
council member here.
Yeah.
But it also is a big chunk of change.
Bob, did you put together any estimate? Was there an estimate done for that or even preliminary?
Well, there was a couple different options to go with. Try to move it on the park side where the ball diamonds are versus the other side.
Right, so I'm just
Because
thinking,
the other side, which would be the north side of Oak Street is,
I think there was some place between 80 and 100,000, I think.
yeah, it also,
I guess.
because they need to be able to get into the field.
Right.
Their big equipment and that's gonna chew up a lot of,
right, and I'm just asking because abbreviated safety has a $50,000 cap. So I didn't know if somebody had put one.
That was my next
Somebody
question.
had an estimate. Now, there are other safety. There's a systemic safety that kind of does the same things, and that's a bigger one. It's a lot more competitive though.
Well, yeah, it's not.
Than the abbreviated safety, but those ones do have, I think, 2 million for pedestrian improvement. For those. So,
yeah, I know we were talking about like Oak Street, conforming with some ADA things
Yeah.
and also doing that as one big
right.
scope of a project, but
Did you end up with an estimate over for Dollar General? Yeah.
Wasn't that between 80 and 100 at the time?
I think I did do an estimate.
Yeah.
It was over 50.
It's in the,
Okay.
Closer to.
should be called either, I think it's called Oak Street, something. I think they did do it. Estimate for that.
The systemic safety, how often does that come around?
Systemics once a year in March 31st. And then if you get safety study done, there's other safety options. But you gotta have a safety study for those other ones.
And what's that consist of?
So you can get safety studies done. So basically you can look at like a corridor safety study, like if you wanted to say, you want to focus on Main Street, you can have a company. I'm not sure that, I have to see if we have people that could do that, but there's companies like ours that do safety studies. They could come in and say, yeah, they would walk through and they would say, here are the improvements that we recommend to make this a safer corridor. With that, then that kind of opens up ODOT to say, okay, a professional has said these are the recommendations you need. We'll kind of throw money at you. And so that's a formal safety. Those are August 31st and March 31st.
How long does it take to get a safety study typically?
I've never actually been involved in one. I would think that it depends on if you're trying to use grant funding or you're trying to use local money. If you're trying to use local money, you just hire someone to come and do a safety study, and as soon as they can get out here. I have to look at what the grants are available for safety studies. I've also seen where you apply for something to ODOT, like to do a infrastructure improvement. It happened over in Swanton. We applied for systemic safety for something and they said, no, we're not going to fund this. And they did a task order and they sent LJB out and to do a safety study for them. And they just paid ODOT paid LJB to do that.
Oh, really?
So sometimes that'll happen. That's not always the case. And then we were able to take that safety study and now we're applying for improvements through that.
Could you look into that for us?
Yeah. Sure. Do you know if there's a corridor or an area that you want to focus on?
Yeah, it would be the Oak Street
Oak Street.
because of its connection to
Yeah,
230.
we can absolutely look at that.
At least information on it.
Yeah,
So we
for
can
sure.
talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not even opposed in front of Michael Mayer Park,
Did you ever do a safety study?
nothing over there.
Have you ever done a
Well,
safety-
that was one of the ones we were trying to go this way.
You can do them? Okay.
For me.
That was
That was the one we just
Yeah.
got denied.
That was the ODOT one.
Mhm.
I've never been involved in one, so I didn't.
I wouldn't say we're gonna need a safety study anywhere right now. Gotta have crashes and reason.
Oh.
Taking safety to a different level.
Yeah, or pedestrian.
Pedestrian, yeah. It happens.
Pedestrian killed on bike and,
Travel.
or seriously injured, that's when you kind of.
Yeah, like the study that was done in Swanton was right on 64 through downtown, and it was the school's right there too, and they were looking at school age youth crossing the street, to get around town. Yeah, so
Abbreviated safety is gonna be your best bet.
yeah, that'll definitely be the quickest way to get things done is through abbreviated. That is not very competitive either.
He can take that to Chris Waterfield and he can give him all the options that were on that special solicitation
Yeah.
with Dollar General and see which one Chris likes better.
The abbreviated though is cap, is that correct?
It's capped at
500.
500 per.
Oh, 500.
500, 500,000 per project. But I've also heard of people that if they have the 10% available, they'll apply one quarter and then do another project or a second phase of it the next quarter and just keep running them together too. And ODOT has told us that they're fine with that as long as they have the local share and it's a good project that makes sense.
All right. Well, that gave us a lot of information.
info.
So
Absolutely.
I appreciate you coming out.
Okay, well, don't hesitate to reach out. Stephanie and Rick have my number.
Yeah, I have your number now because I'll answer the phone now.
Yeah, so don't hesitate to reach out. I can always, if you can make up a question, I can always make up an answer for you.
Okay, sounds good.
Send a list with all the grants out there.
Yeah, all the options that we got.
Deadline dates.
Yeah, that would have been my probably follow-up tomorrow
Okay.
was.
Yeah, I gotcha. And I think they already submitted to Timacog. I don't think they did. So I just want to make sure that you guys got that one in that'll be this one.
I was trying to come to this council meeting and I missed the last one. So, yeah, Kleinfelder's better at grants than
Yeah.
we are, so. Yeah, I'll work as a team with Ben. Kleinfelder can take that on and I'll try and help him through all the questions and stuff. So. Good.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the agenda. Old business. Second reading of resolution for the Wood County Park District. This is a resolution authorizing the Village of Weston to participate in the Wood County Park District Grant Program. This is the second reading. Anybody have any questions or concerns on this one?
Has anything been submitted or any ideas?
No, since we at least got two of our Parks and Rec members in the meeting, the deadline for that's in October. So you'll want to start getting your ideas together and quotes put together. You can apply, I think, up to 3 different categories of funds. It's like, I think like 1 to 5,000, 5,000 to 10,000, and 10,000 to 50,000 or over. So if you've got a bunch of ideas, put them together and we'll start putting applications together and get it to the park district.
You guys understand that, Ron and Doug?
Does it have to come here for a vote?
Yeah, Stephanie, did you not get the quote today from the water district?
Okay, yeah, I did get a quote today. We were trying, he couldn't remember the name and I was like, I have no idea what's going on. So once
Yeah, that
someone
was me.
brings it up, I will send that to you, I guess.
Yeah, I spoke to him last week and about the cost and just giving us a quote on that.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions for the county park district? You had a question?
They have to bring it here to vote for their ideas, right?
So yeah, if it's, well, yeah, probably because the application, if I remember right from the last one, it's gonna ask if you want them to fund it fully or if there's gonna be, if we are gonna provide some kind of match. So any of the ideas, I would say, even after we pass the resolution, that they come here too.
Okay, we got reports, the mayor. I asked Stephanie to put it on miscellaneous business, so won't talk about too much about that, so. I have nothing for here, for now. Fiscal officer report.
Let's see here. We got the Dora cups. I don't know who wants to be the person to hand them out to the two businesses, but I showed it to some others, but they're back here for everybody that wants to look at them after the meeting. I did send the application and everything today and an email bounced back saying that if you're sending the application, it's been received, so nothing back. They said it can take a couple weeks for them to provide any other information, but it did say in the first sentence that if this is your application, it's received, so we should be good. We were talking earlier, we did get the OPWC award. Awarded, I guess. So we are gonna need to move forward on the SIB loan application. I reached out to our grant writer and sent her all that stuff to see if that would fall into her scope. I know in administrative process, we were gonna review her scope. But since this has popped up new, I wanted to get your guys' approval to see if it is okay that she helps with that application. It's pretty extensive and I don't, my capability for doing that whole thing. So she does have a lot of hours left.
What amount of funding for OPWC was there?
We got the full match. It is $242,086. And then we have to cover the other half.
Right. What was that number?
$242,086.
Okay,
What's that?
it's probably in Public Works, the potential for Oak Street.
To hide in SIB.
The SIB, when we had talked about the OPWC, Bob, you guys at Kleinfelter at that time had somebody that would kind of help guide us in that thing. Is that still an option for your guys' company, or is it that intensive that we have to worry about? I mean, we do have funds for our grant writer to help facilitate that, but there's probably gonna be a correlation between two entities trying to.
It's time consuming. You don't have to know what you're doing, but it's gonna take a good amount of time. So, I mean, if your grant writer has the time to do it, I mean, she can absolutely do it. It kind of depends on how much more that your grant writer, rather than her working on other things. But the other option would be to have Kleinfelder do it and help you through it. They could probably give you a price to do it. I can have Ben reach out and give you.
I just know that was a topic conversation when we originally started going for this a couple years ago, so.
I mean, Kleinfelder would probably be more efficient. But the pay rate to have Kleinfelder do it compared to your own grants person, probably be a wash. If not, maybe cheaper with your own grant.
You were saying that's in Public Works, if we wanted to tie another project into SIB. Is that what you're talking about?
I think they have to be applied separately.
That was one of our questions.
Yeah, the SIB is project specific. It is not
You
like
can't tie it in.
that you're asking for 500,000 to put towards infrastructure, you know, it has to be project specific, exact amounts and.
And that was the part I was thinking was in our report, because we brought it up at that meeting. But that was like our question is if you could tie in for a secondary project or not.
Yeah, you can apply, like for another loan. It just has to be done separately from.
Yeah, because this was very specific for its use and everything.
I know there was conversation and talk because there is a 2 to 3 year window of zero requirement of payment. And I know it was talked about that we can either pay it off early or put towards the principal type thing and or utilize those funds to build up a bank to take on a project. And so there's still conversation that needs to be had, but if we can't use it, it's type specific, then that answers.
Mhm. Yeah, that would be the very specific question we need the answer to.
So I guess with that being said, should we make a motion to take it to have our solicitor? I mean, not solicitor, but our grant writer.
Is she committed to doing something like that? She did? Okay.
Yeah, we, I think that was at the administrative process meeting. We asked to get a list of her full scope and she sent it over because I had a feeling she can do more than just grant writing. And right now, there's not a lot of grants that we are eligible for that she can do. So she's just kind of sitting there and we have this budget for her that maybe we could use her for something else that could help all of us as well.
If
So,
it's that time consuming, as Bob says, well, it's probably a good place to put it.
Absolutely.
So we have a motion to move it to the grant writer for recommendation and scope.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
You should be able to just give her the OPWC application.
yeah, that's kind of what I sent her all the SIB stuff, but I didn't send the OPWC stuff yet because I wanted to see what you guys thought. So,
Like copying and pasting.
yeah.
I mean, I think so. Usually we have to start from scratch with the SIB stuff, so.
Kathy sent an email out that they got their EMS grant. The amount is $7,589.63. That is for training, stuff that is not like a one use, it's an ongoing type use.
Accessory.
Yep. I'll do the leaf vac when we talk about the disposal. I got an update on delivery information. I'm working on putting the assessment ordinances together. I have one on the agenda for streetlights to do 3 readings on. We don't need to do an emergency because we can get that one done before the deadline. But the other one, which is mowing, since they're ongoing, I'd rather wait until right before the deadline and then put the list together and approve it that way. It's usually how we've been doing it. The last meeting, I think we declared 13505 Main Street a nuisance. Before sending it to Paul, I reached out to the county and talked to the prosecutor's office because I think I made comment that I thought it was nearing the sheriff's sale, being eligible for that. And they did confirm, the prosecutor's office, that is, it is currently in foreclosure and they'll be issuing an order of sale soon. They're just waiting on some title work to come back. And then probably in another month, they will publish in the newspaper and all that before the sale. I shared that with Paul and asked if it was worth proceeding with filing the complaint, and he agreed that due to the pending sale, that the filing of the nuisance is unnecessary. He said that we don't have to rescind the vote on it or anything. It's just the complaint just wasn't filed. So there's nothing further to do there. He also said that the current mowing assessments might disrupt or delay the foreclosure. So he suggested that we don't submit those assessments because there is to the auditor. And that we've come across that before where a house sold to a new owner and we couldn't assess. So that'll probably what will happen with this one. It just won't go on. And then I also asked if we should stop mowing and, maintaining it. And he believes that we shouldn't, but he feels it's a waste of resources in the short term unless unless council wants us to continue maintaining it, knowing it will not be reimbursed. So we probably should make a decision on if we want to continue maintaining it until it sells. Because there might not be anybody that takes it. But there might be. We've gotten quite a few calls on that property. So once that goes up, I'm sure it'll get snagged.
We currently have assessments on that.
Yep.
So from what I remember, that the sale, all the assessments that were currently.
Yeah, usually what will
In
happen.
the past does come back to us.
Yeah, unless it doesn't sell and then the state takes it,
Which
then,
was that one house, that's what happened. It didn't sell and.
Yep.
They asked us, hey, you got first right of thing. It's like, oh, yeah.
yeah, we should get that for this as well.
If it doesn't sell at the sheriff's office.
I think we still, yeah, I think so, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I have that. And then, yeah, the other thing was the leaf back. That's all I got.
So. You were, okay.
It was me.
Oh, I was like.
I just looked over because
I didn't make a peep.
As part of your report, you gave me this to fill out to attend TMACOG to have it approved by council for the $20. Can you pass us this stuff, please?
okay. So. Real quick, like, do we want to, as far as council, want to stop doing the billing portion of the 13505 and still do the maintenance of it? That's basically what they want us to still kind of do it, but not bill.
Or don't
Or
do
don't.
it at all.
We're
Yeah.
going to,
You're mowing it and not getting reimbursed, or you're just not maintaining it at all. But the sale should be within the next month or two.
And then if the sale does go through,
I don't think
we have a deadline of a certain deadline before the process starts again with the new owner. All right.
Yeah, then the new owner would be getting the notices. Yeah.
what'd you say, Rob?
I'll bet the sale won't be until sometime in October.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking
I was
it's,
thinking the sales usually are September, October.
I
yeah,
think that's the state ones. This one's the sheriff.
But for the county to get it all done. and
That's what I was
it's
thinking.
gonna
They said
take-
they thought
It's gonna
that
take until October, I assure you.
what she probably was actually meaning was that their paperwork will be done within the next month and then they can initiate it all. But yeah, the sale itself, we're probably still looking.
Earl, how long do you spend mowing that property? Like when you gotta go out,
time, not,
yeah, when you gotta go out there.
I'm not as concerned about that
Half hour.
shoot
Hour?
as I am about the rodents and stuff that will.
That's what,
Plus, we wanted to sell.
right, if the property looks like trash, nobody's gonna wanna buy it, and then it just sits there empty still.
I think we should keep mowing.
Well, the other thing too is, I mean.
I will
You do
still
have
keep track of that
neighbors.
amount. We just can't assess it.
So keep moving forward on the mowing, but not assess.
If it's necessary.
You mow it.
Probably,
When you get
probably once a month.
the bill, mow it.
I make sense, yeah, to keep mowing it.
Without assessment.
I said
And if
that.
we cannot assess it, then that's still okay to keep mowing it for the safety of our community.
So there's a motion to keep mowing.
Second.
Second.
All fair side.
Aye.
Yeah, that's it for you then, right?
got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you were talking about the repair on the road out there, 200 and some $1,000. And that's Main Street or coming in off at 235 or is there going to be a load limit put up for the trucks coming in and tearing up the road.
It's an actual truck route, so.
It'll be poured to tolerate it.
And we just have to eat the cost.
Well, this hasn't been done this is a resurface for Taylor Street. And
We've been done over 20 years.
yeah, 20 years. So I mean, it's held up. It's got a good base, and typically they don't grind down too much more. They just take care of the problem areas and then they, refill them back where they need to be. So.
We'll grind it down 3 inches and then fix the really bad spots and put the 2 inches or 3 inches back.
I mean, it is one of Weston's, truck routes. So if they're going over the limit, it's probably just harvest time, I would think.
I was curious because
Yeah,
y'all have to pay for it sooner or later.
sure. Yep. No, it'll be up to a certain spec, so.
The other thing was Brittany getting approval for TMACOG.
Okay, we have a request for TMACOG to attend for Brittany for the summer assembly. And that's gonna be a reimbursement cost of $20.
Or the village just paid.
The village to pay the registration
Okay.
fee, $20.
Okay, so we're gonna pay the registration fee. We just need a motion to approve this. We have a motion on the floor to approve it. Second. We're spending money, so Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Ms. Rupp. Mr. Myholz.
Yes.
Ms. Suster.
Yes.
Mr. Patel.
Yes.
Oh.
I was gonna say, I will.
Mrs. Klikowski, but that's fine. It's still passed. I'm gonna go with Harold.
Well, Stephanie already said about the OPW sleep. Stole my thunder, but we get that's formed, and I just did the brush cleanup and have everything cleaned up for the most part, and we're working on getting things fixed and redone. The cemetery got that big tree moved out of the way for people, so that's moved and ready to be picked up, so.
Was there a brush pickup after the storm for all the village?
No.
Yeah, I just didn't have it announced because the fact that we announce it, everybody cuts everything down and throws it out, and I just wanted to pick up the stuff that had been put out. So there was miscommunications on that, I guess, and I guess I should have emphasized that a little more, but it was just, I didn't want to have it thrown out there and have everybody cut everything down like they did last summer when we had this issue happen. So, yes, we went around and picked up everything that was put out
From the storm.
And whatever else was laying out that people had put out in the meantime. So it wasn't just strictly from the storm brush, but we picked up everything that was out there.
Okay. Anything else for Harold?
Lights look good.
The red, white, and blues.
The what?
Are those the color change you want? I was wondering.
I haven't seen them.
Oh, then,
All right, nothing else. We're gonna go to zoning. Mr. Taylor.
The 27th, I received a call from a resident on Silver Street regarding replacing a lean-to that had been down for several years, and also questioning whether the village would locate property lines or corners for private citizens. The answers were yes, the replacement lean-to would require a zoning permit, and no, the village would not get involved in property line locations. July 7th, today, gave Stephanie 5 addresses for grass letters, and 4 addresses for branches in the boulevard, and 1 address for car on jacks. So that's all.
Anything for Ken?
What's up with the brush in the boulevard?
Just miscellaneous branches.
So is it stuff that we didn't pick up, or is it stuff
Yeah,
that
I mean,
is not gonna be?
it might be like 1 or 2 branches on each one, except for down on North Main Street, a branch or part of a tree or something went down and the individual has piled all of the about 12-inch by 4-inch.
It's a little too big.
Is that the one that was next,
Street.
Kendall's?
Yeah.
Yeah, that tree fell during the storm and it was in the back of the property.
Well, he cut it down to about 12-inch lengths. So
Yeah, my plan was
it
that
won't go in a.
brush list, I was gonna show you and
We're
double
not,
check that they
we're not
weren't
done with the
missed.
storm damage on the brush.
Right, but this will not go into a.
Correct.
So
So,
take your arm with it.
no, that's fine. I mean, there was storm damage that was from the cemetery that was
Yeah, well, I get
to
that.
get clean. So we will have one more round going through, but
So has there been an announcement for that?
You will get everyone covered.
What's been happening is people have called up here and they make arrangements with Harold for storm branches to come pick up, so.
okay. Anything else for Ken? All right, we're gonna go to committees, community development, public affairs from 6/17.
In attendance was Ashley Patel, Brittany Kukowski, myself, Shelley Meyerholtz, and Mindy and Michael Hugaboom. Previous minutes were approved. Mindy and Michael Hugaboom were here to express interest in potentially being a part of the tree commission. It was explained that our goal was to have willing participants attend our community development and public affairs meeting in October when Stephanie from the urban forestry would be attending. It was also brought to attention of equipment that may potentially be needed for the tree commission and possibly a safety course for members. We discussed door signage. We discussed laminated paper signs. We discussed coroplast signs, ultimately settling on 12x16 aluminum signs. I believe they were $58 for 12 of them. Weston Thrive and Revive. A member of the gallery expressed that enforcing a penalty to businesses in what's considered our business district or anywhere in the village could potentially drive away new and existing businesses, as it's hard enough to keep the doors open as it is. Informational and educational plaques highlighting our village's historical sites was a recommendation for the Humanities Spark Grant, along with the idea of the Otsego art students designing a historical mural to be painted on the side of the post office. Subdivision code will be addressed in a few days here as Ken is attending for guidance. Brittany was reaching out to Zeb Albert, a stewardship coordinator, about their program for the Pocket Prairie. Will report back as it is her understanding that money and other donations have already been made for this project and it is at a standstill. Actionable items were to possibly see if Christie had any grant opportunities for business advertising, as it was brought to our attention that more affordable and visible advertising would help local businesses in our village. And ask Paul to identify a course of action and legalities for labeling our downtown business district in hopes of having more grant opportunities for building and business owners.
So actual items is to get with Christie for grant opportunities. Is everybody on board with asking Christie to move forward on whatever opportunities are out there? We just need a motion to put it on her plate.
So moved. Second.
So we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the other actual item is to have Paul identify a course of action for legal labeling in downtown. I'm not really understanding all that, but
I left some comments on, I don't know if you guys are able to pull them up. or-
Mine just is highlighted. There's no.
Okay, so yeah, so what you have to do is you have to click on them. So
Holy.
I wasn't, yeah, so I'm gonna try and do this for your notes. That way, instead of me adding to your minutes, it'll pop up on the sides. So on backtracking to the report itself about the donations, we haven't received any at this time. Certain entities did express commitment to contribute, but nothing has come through. And council's vote to move forward with the project was based on the proposal, which included those anticipated donations, but none of them have come in yet. So with the way that vote went through, technically the Prairie is not approved because of the donations not being in. And then under the actionable items, I did already reach out to Christy. She believes there are several grants that we could pursue as pass-through funding for local businesses, one being the grant that we just submitted back in February for the parking lot. But she said she's willing to search for additional opportunities, so I can have her put a list together. She recommended holding a meeting with the business owners and offered to facilitate it herself, either in person or virtually. She is gonna be in the area in September. And so that'd be a great time to try and, with the businesses, if we are, wanting her to do that. She also asked if, council would be open to her reaching out to the Wood County Economic Development Commission to better understand the barriers for an effective partnership, because I know we had talked, we stopped being members of them because they weren't providing us with what we wanted them to be there for. And then I added that the administrative process committee is reviewing her full scope of services, that maybe she can provide more stuff while grants are kind of meh right now. And then the Paul, asking Paul to identify. I brought this question to Christy first because I thought it seemed more like it aligned with her expertise than Paul's. Paul would be involved in outlining the formal process for establishing the district. And Christy believes the designation could be beneficial. I think that was the question.
The question was the formal process to establish the district.
Yeah, so
So we need Paul.
okay. So Christy had added that she believes the designation would be beneficial, potentially opening up additional grant opportunities, and feels it would be most effective to make that decision after meeting with the local businesses to discuss collaborative economic development strategies. So we can,
Paul has to be involved with that. Does that? I'm wondering if that has to involve some sort of zoning and whatever also from designate.
That's what we wanted to know is how, like, what's the actual process of doing that?
I also have one other clarification in the report. The aluminum signs were bought by the village, and then 3G Printing donated the printing. So village did not pay us for anything.
Thank you for the donation.
I think we grant writer reach out to Paulette Mills at Kleinfelder for the downtown revitalization grant. That's for business owners.
I think that's the one we applied to downtown. Or no, rural business development grant is the one we applied to. What was it again?
Downtown revitalization.
Downtown.
You'll have to get business centers together and coordinate with them, but the village can coordinate all that stuff for them. But it's essentially free money for them, the business owners.
That might be on her list already. That's probably why she's wanting to get with the businesses, but yeah, I'll have her.
I'll let you know everything about that grant. Good resource for you.
Anything else for community development? All right, if not, we're gonna go with safety from 623.
In attendance was Rick Easterwood, Ashley Patel, myself, Rob Meyerholtz, Kathy Hyman, Stephanie Montz, Tim Schroeder, Randy Tolles, and Craig Warner. We approved the previous meeting minutes and we had 174 runs for the EMS as of the time of the meeting. The council members and township trustee Randy Tolles held a discussion on how to divide the utilities of the safety building in the future and what needs to be done to come to an agreement on the subject. The committee will continue the discussion at the next meeting when we have more information on the cost of each utility at the building. Milton Center has not returned their 2025 EMS contract as of that meeting, and their legal counsel will be notified. EMS contracts for 2026 will be ready by the end of the year. Jackson Township is considering other options for their EMS contract as well as ours. Stephanie found that the Walmart Smart Grant could cover costs for a Weston specific safety town that would incorporate aspects of village safety. The sheriff is increasing the prices by $380 a year, which is still within our budget. Compliance draft for EMS workers for Medi-Count is being written. And the actionable item is to have council approval to pursue the Walmart Smart Grant for Safety Town.
We have an actual item for, is Christie doing that one? Okay. To have Christie do the Walmart Sparks Grant for the safety town for the village of Weston.
What's the safety town? What are you proposing?
We're thinking more village related safety because we have a reservoir, we have railroad track crossings, so.
There's a whole write-up, like proposal in that safety committee folder for what was the date of that meeting, 6/23. There's a somewhat detailed idea of what
It's an outline.
outline that Christie will probably use. That was put together, it was put together by me, sent to Christie, and she thought it would be a great candidate for that grant.
For the community, what's
For the
the summary?
What?
Like, what is it?
Safety town,
Is it
the,
a park? Is it a board or is it?
Oh, no, it'll
That's
an event.
It's like an event.
well, it's like a,
What is it?
you don't know what a safety.
I've heard of it,
Okay.
but no, I don't.
Yeah, it's,
It's like a 1-day event.
yeah,
Oh,
We did-
okay, that's
We did a
not at all
thing
what
for
I
the
was
fire
thinking.
department.
I
which
thought it
is
was a
called- we call it
permanent.
touch truck. The school does some type of bike safety and things of that nature. So we were trying to encompass a lot of different things.
Teaching kids how to cross an intersection, things.
What to
It's an-
do.
It's an event.
yeah.
Okay.
Safety committee has been talking about the safety town idea. Ashley had brought the active response, thing. And then the non-certification CPR, that's all incorporated into that proposal, so.
None of that stuff may not in
Yeah.
that timeframe, but it will help cover the cost of some of it.
Okay.
Because there was conversation about the CPR and then some kids events and stuff like that. That's just too much, I think, for a lot of people, because when we want to teach them the CPR non-certification card, it basically it's 6 hours. So, you know, we have all their focus on that and then the active shooter thing or whatever, that safety, business safety thing. So this would help encompass everything, try to. So we need a motion to have Christie apply for this Walmart Sparks Grant for safety town purposes.
So moved.
We have a first, do we have a second? Second, we're gonna do roll call. Mr. Warner,
Yes.
Ms. Rupp.
Yes.
Mr. Miles.
Yes.
Ms. Susser,
Yes.
Ms. Patel,
Yes.
Ms. Kukowski.
Yes.
Okay. Is that it for the safety portion of it? It is. We're gonna go to public works. 624.
In attendance for myself, Erica Roop, Brittany Klakowski, the mayor, and Jessica Sousa. We discussed the stormwater budget and how to proceed for the rest of the year. We also discussed the possible catch basin on Main Street that could be a problem and how we would proceed if there was a problem with that. Committee decided not to plan any more stormwater projects that are not already scheduled. Harold will obtain quotes on building inspections, along with reaching out to Toledo Edison regarding adding lights in the Beach Street Sycamore area and finishing the replacement of lights to LED. The committee has decided that Washington Street is in bad need of being, dire need of being paved. We're waiting to determine what drainage issues they are before we proceed of having that done. Harold was in the process of ordering the supplies for the bleacher railings. The bus garage demolition, AE Electric had advised wait until after ball season is over, which it's over. Do we know when they would do that?
I'll find out.
And we've already talked about the.
Did you guys talk more detail about, I mean, I guess you did say you discussed the line items, but with, Camtech jetting Washington Street and that email I sent out that we only have $549 left for the year in contractual services.
We discussed that.
And there was, I think that was part of the conversation we had kind of a little bit before council was the Camtech bill that came around. Was that the one we were referring that we didn't get a bill for from the last meeting, or this was current? And then what else has been done since then?
Okay.
So the our last council meeting was the Ash Street project was approved by council, but we didn't get a bill. And then if this $800 is in there, is that bill for only that, then the answer to your question is we probably, I don't know if we did the Washington Street one yet.
No.
So to answer your question, that's only $500 left that he may have to work with if he
Yeah,
can
and-
get to it. But that is one of those things where I don't know if there's anything else outstanding.
We wanted to know, we were hoping we could get an exact amount for what we were.
I sent that to you.
Yeah, I sent the email. But then I had in my notes that per catch basin, what was it? 90 per or 180?
No, it was like 89.
It just doesn't seem accurate enough when, I mean, I know they tell you that,
Yeah.
but every time I get the bill, it is way more than what we're expecting, even, this,
Even for what they did down there on. Ash
yeah,
Street.
we weren't expecting it to be 800 or whatever.
Yeah.
The hydro excavate, that's the bill that I received. But I remember, I think that was another one we were talking about before was in one of your reports, you said you also did Center Street.
All they did on Center Street was suck off the.
Yeah, and we haven't got that bill yet, so we don't know what that is either.
Okay, if there's,
Is it possible the $800 included that?
That's why I don't know. I haven't
Did
seen the
you
bill.
have them done at the same time,
Yes.
same day?
Probably.
Maybe.
can we call Camtech, get the details? And if they're coming in that much more than what we have in our notes, then we need to start questioning why. And get the details so that we can plan appropriately.
Plus, did we ask them to be hourly or per whole?
Right, because I have in my notes that there's an hourly rate and a per.
I think that was when they were gonna clean them out, but it depends on the project. So this was part of a project and not just cleaning them.
The Ash Street one was,
Yeah.
it was one of those things where it was becoming, he had it exposed enough to where he could see the problem, but he could not get it enough and.
Right, that's the one with
Yeah.
the photos on.
Yes.
Washington is just sucking it out. So it should not be a 4-day.
What is the catch basin? I thought they were gonna weren't you gonna jet?
I thought we were figuring out where it was heading.
From Washington, that was where it's confusing because it was going towards, I can't remember the road, Brook. And then he said it seemed like it went back to the ditch in between houses. And then we also knew it went all the way down to the end. So
Right.
So if he was gonna jet that, he's gonna be up there to do that.
Well, and there was there was talk, I thought, of sucking it out and Harold jetting.
Well, I had suggested that we just like put water in the one, take a 350 gallon tank and just dump 350 gallons in it to
And see where it came out of.
see and make sure that it all flowed correctly down to the ditch. I mean, that's one option what we can.
Sorry.
Either way, we also were talking about
Work.
Brown needing checked, so we will need to know how much, we'll need an accurate amount on how much this is really costing. So if we can get a hold of Cam Tech, ask those questions,
there
figure out why
anybody
our
else you can
bills
get
are the
a
way
bid
they
from?
are.
I don't know anybody, but I'm sure we can, I can call the
The sucking out of the drain holes, would Northwest Water do that?
Northwest Water, they do it when they're in town. I can get a hold of.
I think that'd be working with them on that especially. Bob, do you know of anybody?
Offhand, no, but I can ask some people around work and see.
I think there's somebody out of Maumee that does that.
There's a couple people around the Toledo area that does it. I'm trying to think of the names though.
Even have them like under a contract, like most of these are like planned projects and stuff, right?
Some of them. I mean, Cam Tech, we kind of scope out certain areas from either the past that we've already identified, we may have fixed and verified that it's been taken care of by jetting, and or complaints that Joe Public has that, hey, so we actually have an open EO, well, contractual service for Cam Tech, they're the approved person, so that we have for the village. So
Yeah, that
if we
one,
need to get more people done. We need to get,
And with inflation, because if we don't have a fixed constant amount with them, they may have changed their prices and we never heard. That's why I'm like, we need to.
the other thing is if we're not doing any other projects, we have 4,000 in
That's
supplies that can be moved
And
for
that-
jetting.
Yes, so we did.
But that also
takes away from.
takes away from the, if another dump truck backs over the manhole and breaks another one, you know, but that it was also a contractual services that was combined with supplies. But
So far, we only have $500 for Cam Tech purposes that we
Mhm.
currently use that for. So Jessica's point is verify with Cam Tech
yeah,
their current rates and or Ash Street, Center Street was encompassed in that $800
Like if
charge.
we received all of our bills with
So
everything.
we come up with a better game plan for the next public works meeting so we can move forward on that portion of it because I think it's going to need more than $500.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
I mean, I agree with your saying is that
What's that?
You could also check with Gerhard maybe.
That's true. I forgot about that.
They have a jetter.
I did
They
forget.
might, yeah, okay.
I just Northwest Water.
They'll do
suck
that.
truck, and I'm sure they'll be able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the back,
Yeah.
they can do.
I mean, it's going to be a cost, but it's entity to entity at that point.
add it to the water bill.
Yeah. Anything else for Public Works? The demolition of the garage. I guess demolition of the garage, where are we at on that? Do you feel that we have enough adequate space to put our current stuff?
If we use the garage, if we use the barn down at the cemetery, we do.
That's where I was going with, because
Because that's what we were talking about, is putting everything down there that can be put down there that we could manually haul into the barn. And then everything else we'll put in, like the equipment we'll put in our building.
I think, and
I'll just have to move things around and.
well, this was, I want to make sure that council's on board and to asking the cemetery to utilize their
Yeah,
building.
ask them what their rent charge is gonna be.
So, and I asked that because you are both facilitators.
I
I think
was
it's,
gonna say,
and I think there's a little sarcasm there, but
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
It kind of goes along with another topic that was in my report that I didn't read out loud. That was just reference for everybody.
So, and then where are we at on the bleachers?
I'm still trying. I will get done this week. I know I said that the other week and I just, that's been going on. It's just been.
I remember the last time you had to redo some quotes and they didn't have whatever you were gonna do that, and Stephanie was going to place an order.
Yeah. So.
Right.
You wait long enough, you won't have to do it until next year. That'll save on the budget too.
True.
Keo's already been saying.
But that's not how we want to operate in this, so, okay. Cool.
One man band.
Anything else for Public Works besides what I did? Okay. All right, now we're gonna go to Park and Rec. There was nothing submitted on here, so we have 2 Park and Rec members still on.
Good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is. Yeah, I don't have access to our notes. Our secretary is still, I guess, trying to figure her computer out. And I'm still sitting in a chair due to surgery. So we did have our meeting. We mostly talked about the upcoming DORA thing. We made the vote to approve the purchase of the cups. We did talk with Red then and let him know that we purchased them. The Parks and Rec paid for the whole thing, including delivery. That if they needed to order more before they ran out, it would take a few weeks to get. We've also spoken with the village contact with Edison. I finally heard back from him about the meter at Merrill Park and an installation of a meter at Schoolyard Park. So that negotiation is still ongoing. And that was about it.
Did you guys want to put on your agenda to talk about this possible Wood County Park District grants and come up with some type of scope and then report back with us sooner than later?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we can do that. As I mentioned in the past couple of reports there, that I've spoken with Chris, who came and did the check presentation there a few times. So we've looked into it. We should have something next month for that. We did have some questions, and that was it was brought to our attention about the new walking trail that's down there where the old school was. Is that something that we are supposed to be taking care of?
That's a good question.
Because it was never brought to our attention that it was, and from the sounds of the reports that it's in disrepair already.
I know the actual path was done by grant money and trees were done by the tree fund. The mowing is done by us, but anything future in maintenance.
Maintenance is done by the Parks and Rec volunteers. They are to recommend to council.
I was gonna say.
I think that's what he's also asking.
Yeah, so if there's, so like he's saying that he's hearing it's in disrepair and reporting it to us to have it.
Right.
Yeah.
It looks pretty rough.
Well, are we referring to the stone path?
Yes.
Because the stone path prior to
I would say
WSIB was, we had access to that stone drag, right? And we did that before.
Yeah.
2024.
Yeah.
Have we not used it so far yet this year? And did we not have a game plan moving
I
forward?
have not used it this year. The drag equipment is actually at the shop right now. I gotta go pick that up tomorrow.
But I was also under the impression that we
didn't use it anymore.
We're not, no, if I use the drag, I'll use my mower. And just use the thing that drags the field to drag it, but I had plans of going down there and getting all the weeds for that, because yes, those weeds that are in there now are pain in the butt, and they go everywhere super fast, and they just got out of control. So it's definitely something that I know, and it's on the radar, and they don't, I mean, it's not their responsibility to take care of them, so they'll be getting taken care of.
I mean, you're responsible for the maintenance of what's current.
Yeah.
Anything else is up to the volunteers of the Park and Rec to make a suggestion to council on how they want to move forward. Is my understanding this?
Absolutely.
Okay. Did that answer your guys' question?
We are not responsible for it.
You were not responsible for the maintenance of the current situation, but you guys would be overseeing the facilitating of futures.
So if you want to suggest something to fix it, you could suggest it to council. But as far as the weeds and upkeep, that is for the village.
People.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the biggest complaint, I guess, is the weeds and grass growing up through the stone base and washouts.
Okay. We'll have Harold take care of that.
So previously in your meeting, you talked about this pocket prairie. Is that going to be similar in nature?
Well, the pocket prairie would require us to spend funds, I believe, of some sort. I mean,
I think we had everything donated.
well, we
Yeah.
don't have nothing donated. We had.
We have letters
But-
saying they would.
Correct. But if we were to
Vote on it.
facilitate any funds, then it would have to come to council. All right?
Correct.
So.
I guess what I'm getting at is more or less, who's gonna take care of this stuff? It already seems to be an issue that we keep pushing more and more off for the administrator Harold there to take care of, and he obviously is very busy with what he's doing. It just seems like it's an awful lot for him to be taken care of.
Well,
That's my interpretation.
Sure. We currently only have one other person, and we had plans on trying to help get another person. Still in the works discussion. But yeah, it is definitely a lot for one person and or 1.5, because Gary is technically a part-time guy to help facilitate all the needs in the village. So we
seem to have a lot more needs and we have a lot of wants, and we want to get grants and use them and do this. And that's fantastic. But it just seems from a business standpoint that we've bitten off a little bit more than we can chew at this point.
Well, what we have out here now is ours. So anything future we'll have to have a discussion on.
Rick, I'd like to talk about the stewardship program that we are pursuing for the Pocket Prairie.
Sure.
The stewardship program is offered through the Park Service. Chris Smalley is actually the one who recommended it to me, and they take care of the maintenance and the planning and anything to do with any of their stewardship areas. There's plenty of areas in Wood County, Lucas County that are already in this program, and it's not unprecedented for a village to ask to have some kind of space for it. Think of something like the county parks existing as part of the stewardship program. That's how you can consider it and how it would be maintained, which is why it's important that we contact Zeb for it. Because I did realize that Harold has a lot on his plate, and this was my answer to that. Because we did make a vote as a promise to do this program, the Pocket Prairie program.
I also heard another suggestion for the prairie, and I was quite intrigued by it. Somebody talked to me about, why would you put the prairie in the midst of basically a sports park, so to speak? I mean, that you have baseball, you have, the walking path and things like that. Their suggestion was, and I thought it was a great suggestion, is why not put that out at the reservoir?
Amen.
Absolutely.
To me, that makes a hell of a lot of sense. Because if the parks, from what I understand, I hope I'm not misspeaking, Doug, but I've heard from some of the conversations that you're also trying to look at the possibility of putting like in a soccer field or something of that nature that's sports related, which the park is really directed towards already. Is that correct?
We've just been in brief conversations with the school board.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to make any approval to move the space for the prairie away from where council already approved for it to go
We
without
absolutely
discussion.
approve that.
We approved where to put it.
Anything can be
Because you
changed.
had anything
It
to
can, that's
change.
what I'm saying. I would not feel comfortable changing where it is without discussion inside of a committee by a council member. Because we already voted as a council on where to put it. So that means we need to take it back and then re-propose moving it.
It's currently in community development. The Pocket Prairie is in discussion in committee currently.
I believe it is, according to the notes.
Yep.
And they just talked about it at the last meeting, so. But nothing has been technically finalized, right? So there is conversation and discussion to be had.
But just
Absolutely.
for record, the idea of putting it out at the reservoir, I think is a good idea.
We did vote and we need to, if we're gonna rehash and redo, we need to look at our votes from the past and those discussions. Because we did vote. And just because we don't have the donations, it's because we haven't asked for them. Because we paused, because we got super busy in November when all the changes were happening. It's easy to forget what was happening last November.
Absolutely. She was pretty certain that there was already donations made.
They sent letters of commitment, so we still have letters of commitment. We have a vote on the books. And maybe we need to look back at those notes and remind ourselves of what we said and did.
Well, we can still change it too.
Who has those letters?
They're in the previous, meeting, folders. I just looked them up and found them.
Yeah,
Okay.
they were sent and they were presented in
Mhm.
folders.
Like there was one from K&K Construction
Mhm.
saying they were
Okay.
donating.
And I want to say
I think Northern Guy was doing
for
the.
the chemicals.
So what was the total donation?
I don't have that.
I don't think there was a monetary amount assigned to a lot of them. It was just donating use of the orange fencing.
I was gonna say it was more products.
So it wasn't a commitment for like 5 years of maintenance or anything of that nature?
We're already maintaining it.
No, we were talking about for the prairie. It's like that thing you were talking about, right?
Correct. Yep.
Stewardship.
You mean mowing? The
That
path?
Zeb Albert, the stewardship coordinator, she was referring to, that would be no different than any other park program that they have currently. They would
They would maintain.
they would monitor it, maintain it.
Either that or they would give recommendation on how to maintain it. And a prairie area is actually cheaper and less expensive for a municipality to maintain than mowing.
It still has to have some kind of funding.
We already currently fund our administrator, yes.
He mows it now.
But a prairie takes more than just a mowing, from what I understand from the previous.
But it is cheaper to maintain than mowing.
I understand cheaper, but it still has to have a budget and some kind of supplementary income to contain it and control it.
That would be the administrator's budget.
So we're gonna add to that.
So we're gonna go back through our notes and verify everything, and then we'll get back with you guys on that in the next meeting.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
That's already on our schedule anyways, is figuring out.
I'm talking about, especially with what she said, that folder Stephanie was asking about, what all we have.
I would like to
Yeah,
more about.
Yeah.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I think our meeting is in like 2 days. But I'm not putting
I think,
anybody up.
I was gonna say, I think you planned on using most of that meeting to do that subdivision thing anyway.
So we'll just touch base on it the next thing. And then we have anything else for Park and Rec then?
No, I'm good.
Thank you.
Oh, Doug, about closing the street for the upcoming event.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot about that. Do I just need to come up and talk to Stephanie about that, or do you guys have to approve?
No, we
that?
It's gotta go to council for a vote.
Okay, so, yeah, on the days of the Weston Fun Days, we would like to propose that we close Main Street from the library to the village building.
And that it would be encompass the Mill Street entrance too.
Yes.
Don't we have to get a hold of railroad?
To Cherry Street, right, Doug?
I'm sorry.
To Cherry Street.
So it'd be basically Cherry and Main,
Yeah.
Mill.
Yeah.
Main, and then Locust, Main. So basically the whole downtown corridor.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one thing we are keeping open is leaving the ambulance crew at the village council hall so that they're easy access out of any call that they have.
I remember when we did the, with the farmer's market thing, both ambulances and the fire trucks apparatuses were on council. That way we can go out and mill and, I mean, get to mill going this way and Cherry Street and all that, so.
Yep.
Okay, we just need a motion to, that's three closings, right? The 3 confirmed closings of the summer door program, right?
Like, they can use that, right?
It'd just be right here at the Main Street. And then, Mill would, no entrance to Mill.
Right.
From Mill to Main or anything like that. It's basically all Main Street at those intersections.
I'm thinking 4.
Do we not have to close down the railroad?
Well, that's a conversation that happens to happen with the railroad, not us. We don't close the railroad down. We'll just make a phone call and they'll slow traffic down on these designated things. That's what
It's
happens.
just that there'll be more barricades.
Yeah.
We're closing off
I
both
was gonna
sides of
say,
Locust,
The
right?
railroad would not be closed off.
No,
They just slow it down.
They just slow the train traffic.
Well, and the reason I'm
Right.
asking is because like the baseball and everything, anytime anyone ever asks, you always bring that up as though it
Yeah.
needs
Yes.
more
That-
regular.
But that is to us, as far as the council, we can only ask them. It's up to them to facilitate it. For Weston Days, we put out our case and everything like that. I don't know what's all going down with here, so I mean, we'll have to get the scope of what they have going on, car show, a bunch of people, you know, whatever, then we'll present it to, we'll have to present that. We can't, I mean, present it to CSX.
And if they cancel, then we wouldn't have to change. Or if they say no, we'd
We just have to maybe have somebody monitor it.
modify something.
You can monitor the time limit of which you have it too, if that works for you. I mean, the parade is at
I wouldn't know their schedule anyways, and if it's just for a couple hour period, and if it's like 3, say noon to 5, I think that would be okay. When we had the West Days, it was all day for 3 days. You know, and that was a little bit more challenging, but they'll accommodate as long as we give it enough time in advance.
Okay.
I'll make that happen for the CSX.
I think the start time is 10 o'clock. Am I correct?
Yes.
What are you doing? Yep.
Okay. So we have 4 dates,
Well, 3 days.
3 dates for the
West End
door.
Fun Days. Yeah.
3
Well,
days.
it's not just
Yeah.
door, it's
Well, that's fun days, whatever. That's,
Sundays.
Car show.
I mean, it's not including the holiday thing. I mean, that's just for these 3 summer days.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. We have a motion on the floor.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed? All right, we'll get that, make sure that happens, and I'll get a CSX on that closing of the dates,
Thank you.
slowing of the traffic. Thank you. The cemetery from 7/3.
I don't have their minutes. But when we had that really bad, it wasn't, when we had that storm, there was a really big tree that fell over. And it was posted like, why is there a tree in the cemetery? And why hasn't it been picked up yet? Jody informed that they were waiting on insurance to get back to them. And then during our meeting, Ricky let them know that they could move it out of the way off the cemetery drive. That way people can get through. Also, there was a rain that happened. It wasn't the storm, was it? It was just some random rain, right?
There
They
was,
were-
there was a scheduled pour for foundations in the week prior, forecasted rain. Put off till a Tuesday, which is the following week. 0 chance of rain and the bottom fell out right in the middle of the airport. So basically, there is some concrete damage out there that also is getting taken to insurance for an issue. So we did file the claim. We talked to them today, and they're gonna send out an adjuster next week.
Okay.
And as far as the tree, Harold moved the tree today, and we were instructed to take plenty of pictures, which we've already done that. We just moved it off the road.
Okay, so when then the adjuster comes, they already have the pictures of it on top.
And it was, yeah, that portion of it was talked about prior, and that's what the adjuster agreed upon.
Okay, perfect. During that pour, there was concrete on stones, and they said,
Cleaned off today.
was it cleaned off?
Yes.
But they were trying to get it through insurance, of course. That was something that would not be covered. Thank you for doing that. What'd you end up using?
The grinder, wire wheel on the sides, and water and a putty knife on the smooth surfaces. And it came right off. So
Perfect. The last thing that before I left, the monument, how do you say her last name? Spurl. The board sent a letter to her and they had not received anything. So they were gonna give her a little bit of time and then talk to Paul about sending it certified. That's where you can chime in from there.
The current monument does not meet the specs of the rules of the cemetery. It was recommended by Paul to handle this outside any court, because the only way to move forward is to go to court. Do this at the time when the approval was or talked about placing, there was no type of description of what they wanted. Then they settled on a certain product and it came back, just showed up. And it's out there, it's beautiful, don't get me wrong, but doesn't meet the qualifications. So we were instructed to give her a letter, which the cemetery board did, and then give her some time to send her a certified letter. And
Because Paul instructed, we're not allowed to remove it at all.
Basically, it'll go to the court, BG Municipal Court, and there'll be fees associated with going to court, and we're trying to do this out of court out of respect. So it's not good either way, because they have something in their mind that, they want to do for their loved one, and it's unfortunate. So.
And Paul advised the cemetery board, Jody let me know, that they should fix their rules on what they have, but it's.
Be a little more up to code, up to clarification, because those have been put in for a while.
Yeah, probably since 1935.
Well, there's a statute in the rules of bronze, and the bronze came back in way before my time frame, probably way before anybody else's time frame here, because of the standard of how the U.S. Armed Forces remembered their constituents. And by doing that, a bronze was put in just about every ordinance of every cemetery in the United States. But there's no definition of scope, right? It was, at the time, it was X flat plate, not big, things.
As of right now, they could technically do that.
Yes, but this is not made of bronze.
Yeah.
It's
that made of
It's
bronze,
appeared to be bronze, but it's not.
not like bronze or copper. It,
Some of the bronze plaques are adhered to a headstone, so to speak. That'll be
So, yeah,
vertical.
they're asking us to come up with better verbiage for
that,
the time that we are in.
For the future.
Because back in the day, when everybody adopted all these things, the verbiage was more cut and dry.
and I do believe they agreed still September 30th
To,
for them to remove it.
before we have to
Yeah.
go to the next step, which nobody really wants to go.
So, follow up on a certified letter. Did they specify when they want to do that if they don't get a response?
Well, that letter was, I guess, mailed week before the meeting. And the conversation was, they may have not gotten it yet because of the way our current mail system runs. It has,
Plus she had surgery.
yeah, and so I mean, so the next scope is to. do
Maybe
a
at their,
certificate.
maybe ask them at their next meeting
Mhm.
when they want it sent certified, just to
This,
be sure.
this conversation is going to happen next meeting because
Yeah.
they wanted me to clarify with Mr. Scaff on
Yeah.
the proper way of going through it, and I said, I want to be respectful on it because this is somebody that they care for, and they actually provided enough monument space for their, pretty much their family, you know, the household family. So it's a big decision and they want to give her time and space for it. So it's an ongoing problem and.
I would also suggest Paul probably.
I was just
in
gonna
our
say,
meeting.
should you want me to see if I can get him to come to that? Because I believe there might have been some misunderstanding of his communication to them initially.
I will assume that the next meeting will be attended by the individual. So I assume.
Well, it's unfortunate it didn't go certified to begin with, but that's
I have not, I was
Yeah.
not involved in any of this.
No, I know.
This next meeting, so we
But
all.
my
talk
point-
Together and.
my point is this, is the fact that I'm not so sure, you can ask Paul to be there, but I'm not so sure Paul will want to be there.
No, I don't think he wants to,
I really don't think you'd want him there.
I took out of the conversation that, he wants to do everything he possibly can to be out of court on this because,
So that would mean leaving him away from it.
I mean, at the end of the day, he's still our legal if that's the way it
Yeah.
goes. That's what's gonna have to happen. But leading up to that fact, he wants to stay out of the court system.
I mean, yeah, if you
And so do
do
we.
it, then we need his help, or they need his help to do it.
So, yeah, the conversation is to have a certified letter by a certain date, hopefully before the next meeting, to be submitted the appropriate way. Anything else for cemetery? Okay. Upcoming meetings.
Grant.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I got a text message over the holiday from Jody referring to a particular grant that they wanted to get, and they wanted to use Christie as a resource. And Christie wouldn't do it from Jody without an approval from somebody. So she reached out to me. I said, go for it. Why? Because it's a grant for the cemetery that is low budgeted anyway, so.
Yeah. And I did tell Jody that that's the board's decision. We have the grant writer on, at least in my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that we have her on her retainer to use her for grants. That grant was brought up, I think, in my report, like 2 or 3 meetings ago, that she had pointed them out and nobody, we didn't say, oh, no, we don't want Christie doing that, so, but I think Christie feels better to just have an official approval from council to move forward with applying to that cemetery grant.
Well, and it was probably last November. That was our process. That's why I clarified with the Parks grant. Like every committee had to bring every idea here to vote and go ahead.
Boards
Yeah.
are different than committees.
Yeah, cemetery is a little different
Boards,
though.
boards are different than committees. You gotta remember that. Boards are, they have their own authority.
The cemetery board is different.
So is the park board. They operate with. the
They don't
funds that we get.
operate with levied money.
Doesn't make any difference.
Yes, it does.
Get them. If it's a line item that we approve, that board has the right to utilize it as a board. Doesn't have to be a levy. Check it out.
They're civilians.
Well, so is the cemetery board. I mean, we're all civilians, so that doesn't make any sense.
But they do operate on a levy portion of it, so,
Right, I'm under the understanding,
yeah, so.
but nonetheless, last November, every idea, because everything had to come through council. Everything had to come through council. And last November, everything did.
Well, you're gonna have to be careful with boards, very, very careful.
Yes, we should. We should review it.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that be reviewed in administrative process,
To review the scope of the board.
the rules.
Okay. A motion to
Second.
move the scope of the boards to administrative process. Okay, first by Mrs. Susser, second by Mrs. Kukowski. Ms. Kukowski. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Anything else? Upcoming meetings, Community Development, Public Affairs, 7/9 at 5:30. Administrative process, 7/14 at 6. Planning Commission hearing, 7/16 at 6 p.m. Public Works, 7/22 at 6. Safety, 7/28 at 6.
I do want to bring something up with that planning commission hearing. As you just said, that's going to be a fun one. I highly recommend whoever is going to be taking the notes for that one, record it. Because that guy is going to come back and try and.
Can I legally just do it on my own? So we
Yes.
have,
So anybody can do
You
it.
can record them.
Because he's going to be all over the place.
yes.
And I also have a little recording device. If anybody wants to borrow it, maybe I'll just leave it.
I have one too.
You could
But
put my-
someone should record it that way because he has tried using past council meetings as a way, and he will probably bring this up at that meeting, that, oh, this was approved already, but not legally. So
Well,
I just,
I will
want
say
you guys to protect
sometimes
yourselves.
we are lack of. Now, the last one we had great participation.
Mhm.
That doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
And we have sometimes the lack of, I don't know, for lack of better words to say, lack of knowledge of how to rebuttal to what is being said.
Mhm.
So I think being quieter is probably more of our benefit. Most are.
Yeah, and you should already have most of the stuff. Ken will come with all the past stuff.
Mhm.
I believe he said he's already working on putting that stuff together, to be there, as that part of the zoning stuff.
As long as he'll be there, because I know some he can't make.
Yep, that's why I brought up the recording, because, I could come, but since we didn't advertise that the meeting would be online, we can't.
That's fine.
So
That's what I was going to
Someone
ask.
should just
Someone did ask me if we
Yeah,
could do it.
yeah, we would have had to advertise that we were gonna
Do
put it virtually, and we did do that. So
Okay.
But it's, how long do we have to do it for?
Advertise.
Advertising
Advertise?
30 days before.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And that's just for public meetings being held.
This,
That's a specific.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's specific.
at the end of the day, from what I gather is to hear particular parties out. The planning commission comes up with a suggestion, and it still comes back to council.
Mhm.
So the planning commission, the people on the board or commission, have been in the past been very receptive on hearing people out, and, you know, I will run the meeting like I did the last one where
That worked well.
we, you know, listen to everything, and then at the end of the time, we do have to take care of public inquiries, but in the same token we'll manage it the best we possibly can. So, and then whatever the decision the planning commission comes up with, we'll bring out back council. So we'll do,
Well, I think the room would be full of people myself.
as long as you're here on time.
Uh-oh.
I'll take the day off.
Okay.
But, I really do believe people are interested and they hear about this village and they want it to stay the way it is and want to improve it. They don't want to junk it up. And that's the way I feel.
All right.
And that's what I'll tell him if that's what I think.
You'll have your time to speak.
You call me first, I'll shoot you.
Surely you should.
Put that on the record, please.
I know, oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah, so those are the upcoming meetings. Okay. Did I forget anything? Did we forget anything? If not, we're gonna go to
Anyway.
new business. This is going to be the first reading of ordinance for the street light assessment. This is the ordinance to provide the cost and expense of the lighting of the streets, alleyways, and other public places in the village Weston, Ohio, and confirming inclusion therein of new and or improved lighting projects. The highlighted portion of it, is that an increase?
That's the amount. I did say at, I think the last council meeting that it's the same as it was, but when I looked at the last ordinance, it was 21,000. But what I had the auditor certify was 22,000, so I plugged in 22,000.
Okay, so this
Especially
is
if we're
the-
gonna be doing projects, so. it's
This
not-
is the first reading of that, and this does take in line with the potential of improving and adding things. And anybody have any questions? If not, this goes for the first reading. Okay, I think we touched base a little bit on the cemetery grant approval.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, they want to, the grant is $2,500 or up to $2,500. They don't have a quote yet, but they would like to pursue covering some of the cost of renovating, refurbishing steps to different elevated sections in the cemetery. I believe it'll probably be similar to the one that Brittany and Jeremy put in, what was 2 years or 3 years ago?
2023. I wasn't on council yet.
Yeah, she wasn't on council yet. That one didn't go through, so they're gonna try and, I think similar, so they're gonna get updated quotes for that. But it's only up to $2,500 anyway, so.
okay,
And they thought it would be similar besides.
Just update the labor.
Yeah, the labor
Yeah.
part.
that's all changed since then. And the other new business we had was Mr. Miles wants to talk about the sheriff.
Yeah, I called Lieutenant Bono and last week, but he was on vacation, so he got back to me today. I was talking to him about coverage for the events, the 3 fun day events, since we have Dora. And all I wanted to do was get an idea of what their cost would be or how they suggest it be done. So there's a couple different ways we can go. Number one, we can have 1 or 2 deputies here, which would mean that they would be regular road deputies that they would bring in on overtime, which would be time and a half. And then I asked him about the possibility of just deferring some of our contract time and moving it around. And he said that, yes, that is possible to do. He said the only thing that they could not guarantee by doing that is that if they got a call for like a fatal accident or something like that, that they would have to pull the deputy from here and go to that. And he said, if you're willing to accept that, then you could probably do it through the contracted time that we already have. So that's your choices.
Is there anything in place that says we have to have a deputy?
No.
So the option is have none. Modify our time schedule for the village for those days to encompass what they currently would do. And or just bring a special in for that event.
Right.
If we didn't have a deputy to meet the security portion of the door application,
gonna
wouldn't
say,
we
I
need
thought
to
that was
require
a-
the businesses to then provide the security?
Yeah, I thought there was a.
That's not what it's written into the law, I don't believe. Is that true?
Application is written that we would offset the current 40 hours a week to adjust for DORA in the
The further hours.
safety portion of that application.
So I guess what we would need to do as council is to go ahead and vote for which option, right? The overtime or the modified schedule and
We don't have.
I don't know if we have to because the application is written,
We can't go none.
that's what I'm saying, okay. If that's
But
it,
but if they leave, then,
is the event canceled? If they leave?
I mean, that's when,
Violating.
then that's when.
No, you're not
I don't
violating
think,
it.
see, you can provide your own.
You can assign somebody
Yeah.
to watch the door area, which could be Parks and Rec from that standpoint.
That's what I was thinking.
Another thing.
There was an incident where the sheriff did have to leave. We could have somebody designated to then take the space of that
Right.
sheriff.
I think that's how
Our
That's how
that's how I read it, I think, is,
We just have to provide some type of, some
Yeah.
kind of way to police the area. It doesn't necessarily have to be the police. We just have to make sure somebody is aware of the surroundings and watching.
Like an event coordinator. If,
Safety
yeah,
coordinator.
yeah,
We have to find out which way we would like to go because it's gonna cost us nothing by having our own people, right?
Mhm.
Overtime, that's going to raise our budget in some form or fashion or restrict the hours at another patrol interval of the 2 week or month pay.
but if we're,
Parks and Rec, think about that.
Don't really have an opinion.
I would say, the Sunday morning at 9 a.m. till whenever they are patrolling.
Saturday morning.
He's saying.
He's saying eliminate the Sunday morning at 9 a.m.
Oh,
That they
Yeah.
sit at the,
that's been, okay, time out. That's a discussion that'll have to be had.
I'm sorry,
offline.
Ron, you asked, I just said.
Yeah, no, I'm
willing
sorry.
to trade times, if there's times that I would suggest, that would be it. I'm not sure there are other times. That's the only time I get to see them when I'm not working, so.
Yeah, okay.
I guess what we're really asking is if you guys would want to be the patrollers.
If they have to leave.
Yeah, my
Well-
question is, are we qualified? I don't know what the stipulations are.
We can ask the establishments. They might have somebody too.
all I know is when we did it for temporary permit for the fire department, that question did arise and the response was, we have it barricaded off. We are supposed to monitor the exit and entrance. And that's all the farther we can do. If a incident happened,
Do you just call?
we call the sheriff's
Oh, yeah.
department, they would respond. We would act as if we were a bouncer at a bar and charges could be filed on us just as much as they can on the next person.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there. So
Really, you'd just be calling. You're like the
you
eye.
basically,
You're just the
you're
eyes.
just, yeah.
yeah, you're basically making sure Joe Public doesn't go or come in with something they're not supposed to. And therefore, if they do, you just report it. Ask them nicely. If they don't comply, then you report it and they come anyways. So that's,
I mean, if you get someone that's drunk, come out there and let's say,
talk to more.
Ron, the one that's doing the safety thing, he can go up to that person or doesn't leave. And if they do not, that's when he can call the sheriff. Cause then at that point,
At the end of the day, whether we ever restrict their hours or not, they're still bound by contract. They have to come.
Yeah, they have to.
yeah.
So.
You just
if
pay.
you
They're just
choose to
not
modify-
patrolling.
Yeah, we just pay a lot of money for patrol.
Yeah.
We're just telling them a specific time, 3 different dates to patrol. definitely during those times, and then they adjust otherwise.
And
They're in the.
even if we eliminated Dora, they'd still be, because it's a public event out here. I
You
mean, think about it as the vendors mark, you know what I mean?
I just know like at the festival thing, the fire department thing, when we did not ask them, they stayed outside. They were only there when we needed, they love people watch just as much as everybody else does. So if they are going to be in this village, they're going to probably sit next to a fire truck and probably walk around and get
Sure.
whatever sandwich or whatever else.
Yeah.
But in the same token is we're paying for them to do that.
Yeah.
So
Can I say, Rick, too, they could participate even and set up a small booth and try to be more public if they.
yeah, I don't know
chose.
who that public person is. It used to be Sandy. Can't remember her last name. Weekman. And I don't know who it is now, but they love doing that kind of stuff with kids too. You know, so-
Exactly. We're gonna have the kids in the parade and things of that nature. I think it'd be a great thing for them to participate in.
So that might be a conversation for them, but we're still gonna have to have them patrol it if that's the case, because
Totally understand, but I think their participation in the early on would be more welcoming for the later on.
Well, I have to get an answer to him by tomorrow because we're tight on time for scheduling if he had to hire.
for the first one.
For part-time people or whatever to come in, or overtime people to come in. So we got to make a decision, hopefully, so that we can get it done.
And we have,
My vote would be to just have them divert their time, honestly.
that's the recommendation of the Parks and Rec, divert the time.
Doug?
Yeah, I agree. And again, if they need to leave, I mean, we can handle that.
Okay,
I would make a motion that we do divert their time.
so we have a motion, official motion from a council person to divert the time and recommendation from the Parks and Rec.
A second.
We can't all second. We can all say aye.
Who was second? Okay.
They're diverting so they can be there.
Yes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Yeah.
It's fine, still passed. It's on record.
Did you say no?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on.
I just realized we didn't actually do the official vote for the cemetery grant.
I thought we did.
I thought we did. Okay, we need to officially vote to have Christie do the cemetery.
Motion.
Did we have a motion?
No.
Oh,
Oh, that's nice. Moved.
sweet.
Second.
First and a second over here. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, everybody see a chance to review the bills.
Yeah.
Need a motion to pay.
Second.
Say aye.
Aye.
Close. Did everybody sign the bills? Gotta get that out there. Miscellaneous business. Okay. Miscellaneous business.
7 minutes. 7.5.
Yeah, we had a conversation a couple weeks ago with Harold. Hey, where's the back? Leave. And I asked Stephanie to get with the individual,
Yeah, I
and so
got
now
news.
she's got news.
So they actually called today and they have two options for us. We can either have it delivered for the 988 blah, 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 but we do not have a dock or any of that, which they were aware of, but they said they're only located in Indiana and they could deliver it for $750 and then show our guys how to use it. But the only issue with that is it would put miles on the wheels already.
No, it's,
So
So
what would we like to do? Would we like to have it delivered and then have training, which I think is a great idea, or to just have it
delivered anyways?
delivered and
For more money.
So wait, it was $900 to deliver, no training.
I know.
yep,
$700 to deliver it with training, with the exception that we're going to have mileage already on the wheels. Well, what would you guys like us to do? A consideration of $200 less with preferable
Training.
training.
I'd rather have training with it.
that and maintenance. I would hope it's in training.
Yes, so we have a motion to move forward on the delivery and the personnel to help train for the 700 bones. $700.
Yes.
And do we get it before this fall or is it next fall?
She made it sound like
It's
once I give her an answer, it'll be here
Soon.
soon.
Indiana's not far.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a first,
Me.
second,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Visitors,
Oh, and
Okay.
old leaf back. Council needs to declare it unfit for municipal purposes and that it has no monetary value or value less than 1,000, and then we can dispose of it however we
this
please.
is the old leaf vac.
The old leaf vac.
Currently, it's got a blown clutch, fans and motor and everything else that may be wrong with it.
Dispose of
Can't
it.
you scrap it and have it
We
later?
have to have
what I
we have to have
tell-
a motion. and
yeah, we
a
have
resolution.
to,
It's an asset.
A resolution would be if we feel that it's worth more than 1,000. But I did tell Paul, some of the ideas that were tossed around was giving the parts to Haskins for theirs or just scrapping it. So that's when he said we don't need a resolution if we're valuing it
Does
less than
Haskins
1,000.
want it for parts?
I don't think Harold's talked to them yet.
I haven't talked to them yet, but theirs is the same exact thing, and they had a heck of a time getting their, radiator fixed. So I thought if they had. a
Why wouldn't we
part
reach
for it,
out?
then that would be-
Just reach out.
At the end of the day, we still need a council's approval to get rid of it, so
I motion to declare it unfit.
I second.
we have an unfit declaration and a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? All right. So we'll just reach out to Haskins, find out their app, if they want to do it, then we can get rid of it. Yes. Josh. I haven't heard from you yet today.
I'm not gonna know if he was on there.
I've got nothing. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Patel.
He's working the store, so he's probably not listening.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Marion or Mr. Dallas?
Oh, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Nope. I'm good, thank you.
Shirley, you got 4 minutes. Anything?
I said my piece.
All right, we appreciate it though. If we have nothing else, we just need a motion to adjourn.
Don't move.
Who was second?
We-